Today we have some stuff to go over, especially with Tesla seeing a big move after earnings, after not showing the best numbers, but we're going to tell you exactly why Tesla is seeing that upward move. And right now you may be thinking to yourself, hey, this looks pretty good from a swing trading perspective. This is curling up. This is a pullback or a correction at this point, and this could head higher. There is just one big problem with where the price is right now that we are going to talk about today, and we're not going to beat around the bush and waste your time. I think your time is valuable, so we're going to get right into that straight away, giving you that technical analysis for the SPY and Qs, and then we're going to go deeper into Apple, Tesla, Amazon, NVDA, AMD, and Meta today, maybe looking at the VIX and things like that. So make sure to stick around. There's some good stuff to be paying attention to, as this bounce could be fading very, very soon, but we may be seeing some upward price action. I got a good workout in today, so I'm ready to do some technical analysis, and let's get into it. In order to do this, we're going to need to pop up a bunch of drawings. All right, now that our drawings are back up here, we can pay attention to a lot of things. And one thing that you're noticing here on the daily is we're hitting my purple line here. What is this purple line? This is what the options market has expected for the entire week, and we are hitting that on a Tuesday, right? So we have plenty of time for this to actually fade, because this means there's a 68% chance that we are going to land in this zone. Now, sure, we can see a move outside of that going on into tomorrow, and that's why we have some daily expected moves. So if you don't know anything about these expected moves, these are calculated based on the implied volatility from the options market. So the options market is telling you, hey, the SPY tomorrow can go at least price in as high as 509.74, and then it can go as low as 501.56. And when you do get outside of these, that just means you have a 68% chance to land within it. And that's why we're paying attention to the weekly one, because we're starting to touch that very early on in the week. Sure, we can get outside of that. Maybe we do want to gravitate to this zone, which is what I've been really, really focused on. I really think that this is where we could see some selling step back in, especially if we get bullish right away. So if I was bullish here, I'd actually want this to drop off. So I'm going to go into some shorter time frames, the 30-minute here, and just wanted to show you guys what has been going on. Now, around this area down here, we were talking about some kind of bounce. Now, we were stating how when we were live, right, we were talking about how this is breaking down. You're seeing that cross down into negative territory, and look at that negativity that comes. Now we are starting to create this divergence here, and that divergence took us into positive territory on the MACD. So we were able to get positive here. We were looking for this bounce. So congratulations if you were making some money off of this and you were able to, find some helpful information from this channel. And thank you so much for liking and subscribing. But as we do approach that upside of the weekly expected move, usually we do see that as some resistance. And we do have that monthly expected move there as well. And we're outside of that right now. So that could have turned into resistance. So we give all those away on Patreon. But really what you need to pay attention to here is this is not looking the best from a sustainable bounce, unless we really do just see a full V-shape recovery, and all of this was a mistake with that geopolitical news. But what I'm really thinking is going to happen, and how I would like to see some structure on the way up, is actually we see this come down. I think if this pulls down and stays into positive territory, this would be the bullish scenario, and then curls back up. Well, we could see another push higher, and maybe we get outside of this purple line here, and we actually go up into our zone up here. That could be where the sellers are lurking. The 2 hour is still in negative territory, and that can roll over. Usually if you want to see a sturdy base down here, you really want some kind of retest of that level. And something like touching the top side of the weekly expected move can cause that to happen. So we actually could see some downward price action unless we are going to see something crazy happen. So the bullish scenario here would be, hey, maybe we just take this weekly and then we start going up and we just get way too bullish, way too quick. And then we see that fade throughout the end of the week, or maybe going into next week. Now, the bullish thing that I think you really want to happen is some kind of pullback and then see that curl back up. See this 30-minute curl down and curl back up into positive territory. That would be a good sign for another push higher. Now, if this wanted to break down, what's going to happen here? Most likely the 30-minute is going to roll down all the way down to this low, right? We're going to go into negative territory. Once we go into negative territory, you can bet that we are going to test this low, maybe even go make a new one. The good part about if we did see a dramatic pullback or just a pullback, the likelihood for us bouncing is actually pretty good if we can form a divergence down here. So I want you to be open to this. Even though Tesla's seeing a big move higher, this is an area where we could see some resistance as we do get a little too excited early on in the week. And this is all the options market priced in for the entire week, and we're hitting that on a Tuesday. Qs, we're going to talk about this, and it's very, very similar. So we're just going to leave it on the 30-minute here, but I just wanted to show you how we have those daily expected moves for tomorrow, right? 430.83 to the upside, and we have 419.31 to the downside. So if we do get excited early on in the day and see this start to pop up, which we are seeing that most likely because of Tesla, but we're seeing that pop up. Well, this is where we can look for some selling to come in, some kind of resistance to come in at this point. But you have to say, as you see that purple line is right there, and if you don't have these weekly expected moves, that would be 426.46 to the upside and 402.84 to the downside. We're already there. So if we're already there and we're consolidating in front of it on that 5-minute and stuff, we could see that move higher, but that could be ripped away because we land in this zone 68% of the time and we're about to get outside of it. We're outside of it in the post market right now. So I would just be paying attention to this. Now, the good part about these SPY and the Qs is we're actually in a level where you can create that cup and handle. This is a very important level. And so if we get some kind of deep handle like this, maybe we go down towards the daily expected move tomorrow and we see some kind of bounce. All we have to do to know that the next bullish move is coming is see this get down towards that center line and see it cross back up. But I am going to tell you what I am leaning towards. It doesn't mean I'm trading based on what I'm leaning towards. I still trade based off the price action and just react, which is what I encourage everyone to do. We still trade like water on this channel. We just move around the rocks, and we got a lot of rocks with earnings this week. But I think the data at the end of the week will be much more important. But this is what I am leaning towards. I actually think we are going to see some kind of maybe upward move in the morning and see that fade. And then we come down into this area by end of day and we see some kind of volatility come in that pushes us down to lower levels. What that does is it'll get us into this zone. It'll get us into this zone. We see a nice 30-minute divergence right by positive territory. And I believe that this is going to be a very, very strong move going into next week. So I would look for this type of setup to build up if I wanted some kind of very good trade. Now, that is just my opinion. That's not actually happening as of right now. So what you want to pay attention to is the 30-minute. Does it roll down early on in the day and then come back up, able to curl back up into positive territory? What does that mean? Hey, more positivity. This positive trend will continue. We're going to test this high, make a new one. Those are the two possibilities there. If we're going to see that downward price action, well, we're going to start taking out these trend lines here, and we're going to head lower and most likely test this low or go make a new low where we create some kind of divergence. If we do not create that divergence and we get some kind of bounce, well, what can we pay attention to down here? If this doesn't form the divergence, this divergence does not get back into positive territory, and we're just going to see some kind of flush, well, then I will just see this keep going, maybe curl up and curl back down into negative territory. So really make sure that if something like this does happen, that it curls up and is able to get into positive territory. It's really going to help you out with your trade setups and the way to know, like, hey, I can stay in this trade a little longer. I can move my stop up a little bit. But that's just one thing. I just wanted to point out this thing has been moving up pretty rapidly over the last couple of days. So we will need some kind of digestion. I think that we have a good shot to curl down throughout the day tomorrow and then curl back up. But I'm really leaning towards some kind of drop that puts us down into this area, and then we get some kind of bear trap. And now we can look at these individual stocks, which we're going to go into Tesla next, and it just got that earnings, right? So we're going to pay attention to that. And we're going to talk about why they are seeing an upward move. But as of right now, Apple, this is one thing that we're paying attention to, not able to see good buying. And this is why I'm saying as the Qs are hitting that weekly expected move, Apple not necessarily really giving you the best buy signal. Now, if you take out this level right here, that's going to go positive, right? That's going to be very, very good news for Apple as you are given this cup and handle. So bullish side, you're looking for this cup and handle, but the bearish side, you actually might have some flagging going on in here, right? We could see this as some kind of flag. Maybe we want to head lower. Let's keep it very, very simple, okay? Let's keep it very simple and just say this. Where is the 30-minute MACD? It is right by the center line, right? It is right by this center line, which means if this wants to roll down, we will see some negativity. And what would happen from here? Well, we would see that negativity come in and maybe create a big divergence right by positive territory, right before some very important earnings, right before some very important data like GDP. So we could be seeing actually a downward move early on throughout tomorrow and Thursday, and then maybe we see an upward move at the end of the week. That's something that I'm leaning toward as far as taking a great trade to the upside. As of right now, I'm being cautious with any upside because we are hitting those weekly expected moves. So I would like to see structure to head up. If I miss out on the move, that's perfectly fine. I am perfectly fine not chasing some kind of move. I am just going to play the signals that I am seeing in front of me. And right now, all I'm seeing is this curving over, and it has the potential to curl down. So I don't necessarily want to take a chance on this, maybe until it breaks through this high and really solidifies a good upward move and I can see a breakout. So Apple, even though it is buying up, I'm just telling you this looks pretty flaggy in here, and you could just roll down and create a more sturdy divergence, because this divergence down here that you had for this upward move. It's not necessarily on the RSI at the same time, right? It's on the MACD, but it's not on the RSI at the same time. You guys know if you took my course, which is 149 for the next 11 days, right? You have 11 days to get that course down below in the description for 149 before that price goes up. So make sure to look at that. But you guys know how I like to see these at the same time for a solid bottom, okay? And we're not necessarily seeing that as of right now. Now, this can bottom without that, but it's just the way the MACD looks right now, you'd notice it's really close to positive territory. So if you're looking for a bearish move, this would curl down and go negative. Hey, we're going to test this low, go make a new one. If it's going to be bullish, we're just going to see this thing keep ripping and most likely see the 2 hour able to actually go positive if we're just going to keep ripping here. So on Patreon, I'm still paying attention to my weekly moves if we continue to see that strength. But right now, the SPY and the Qs hitting their weekly expected move could mean that we're going to see some kind of pullback, some kind of drop to give us some kind of entry point to digest a little bit before we head higher. Tesla, I wanted to give you guys an area to pay attention to the upside. That's right. We're seeing an upside move, and people are probably mad if you're short on this, right? I don't trade around earnings. I really don't, because it's a 50-50 flip. And we were talking about this live. So please join my stock market live shows. They're a lot of fun, and we get to talk about stocks for the whole morning. But this is something that I was kind of telling you. I was like, well, what if we produce good or bad numbers, and then we get some kind of announcement that just makes the stock go up or down because of Netflix last week, right? Printing some pretty dang good numbers, but telling you, hey, we're not going to give subscribers anymore, and boom, it crashes down. Now we're seeing Tesla do the same thing in the other direction. So you're seeing these red numbers, right? We're seeing some bad prints from Tesla, but what is causing the stock to go up right now? The thing that's causing the stock to go up is they're planning on kind of fast laning all of the potential electric vehicles that they're going to make at a cheaper price. So they are trying to make an affordable price vehicle for a different kind of demographic. And I really, really like that. Remember, I was talking about this for weeks now. I was like, the best thing Tesla or any EV company could do is make a really affordable option for people. And that will really benefit. And I think the stock will explode if they're able to do that. And right now, stock's exploding. The only problem with it exploding this fast throughout the week, and it can get past this weekly expected move, this purple line here, which we give out on Patreon, but I'm just giving it for you for free because they have earnings, right? 163.45 to the upside, where we could see some resistance come in, but that may just be some kind of ABC move at that point to actually break out and head to the upside. So more positivity is possible, but I'm worried that Tesla is going to fade this move as it hits that weekly expected move. So just pay attention here. If you're bullish on this, this purple line here is a great, great place to take some profit. Look for that to curl down on a 30-minute and then start to head up. And if I do this on a 30-minute, you're going to see it's right by positive territory. It looked like it was going to roll over. It gets some good news. Now it's going positive. So what does that mean? It's going to be extremely overbought, and then it's going to base out like this and curl back up for the second move. So all we have to do is watch this MACD down here, see that go positive, roll back down towards that center line and curl back up. That will be the next big move for Tesla if we continue to head up from here. This is why I'm hesitant in saying we could see some kind of pullback in stocks or some kind of drop down to test the lows again, is because things look like this, like Amazon, right? We are completing some cups where we really need to be, right? This level, pretty important, using it as support a few times, trying not to break down through it. We break down through it. What happens? We flush. So this area here actually could be very important for Amazon. Maybe we get some kind of cup and handle for the bullish scenario. See if that 30-minute rolls down briefly into negative territory, rolls back up. If this happens, this is the bullish case, it'll curl back up into positive territory. We're going to see another big move from Amazon going forward if that happens. But something that could be happening here is, what if we go down negative a little too deep and we start to push through this level here, maybe even test this low or go make a new one? That's where I'll be paying attention to a divergence. So if this rolls over, if you're wanting to go bearish on this, if you're wanting to go short on this, all you have to do, keep a stop in place, right? Let's be risk managed. Let's put a stop right up here, see this roll over. If it flushes down, good for you. You're going to make a little bit of money there, and then you'll see some kind of divergence, and you may be able to just flip that thing right back to bullish. Remember, on this channel, we are adaptable. We trade like water. We go based on the signals throughout every single day. So paying attention to the signals going forward, this market is going to be very difficult to trade in, so you have to be on your toes and pay attention to what could form in the future, which is a very hard thing to do. And that's why there's a stock market course for 149 for the next 11 days down in the description. Highly encourage you. All I hear is good stuff from that. Now, NVIDIA is going to be a little bit of a different take here, okay? NVIDIA actually could see that weakness. Now, we're seeing a pop higher, so I'm sure if I go into a 15-minute or a 5-minute, we could form some kind of divergence in our zone where we said, hey, this is where we really have potential to sell off from. Really, you need to take back that 841.50-ish level in order to really get bullish on this forward. The reason that I'm just stating that NVIDIA could run into problems as far as tomorrow goes, it could fade some kind of upward move, is just because it's outside of its weekly expected move. Now, I'm not giving you your weekly expected move. Patreon members, you guys got that thing. You noticed this probably early on, and you're looking for some kind of signal out here if you're being diligent on Patreon and you took the course. So right now, this thing could pop up. Why? We move sideways, we can pop up, but will that create some kind of 15-minute divergence up here that then kind of rips us to the downside as we are outside of that weekly expected move? So the whole options market priced in for NVIDIA to go to this level right here. We're going above that right now, so we could see this actually fade because we have a 68% chance to land down in this area. So just be cautious up here. I know that Tesla earnings might get people excited, and we very well could see some kind of crazy bottoming out and see this thing just keep going. But from that, if you're going to see that, we just have our stops in place to the short side. I have, a stop right at these highs if I was short on NVIDIA. If that opens up, okay, I'm out. I see the signal again. I'm back in, and then I have my stop again. And if I keep getting stopped out, then I'm just going to say, okay, let's look for a big pop, look for that to kind of consolidate, and then see that next move higher. What that allows me to do in a bullish trend is see that get close to the center line, curl back up, and then I say, okay, a positive move is coming as long as the structure looks good. So bullish side, you're just looking for this to curl up. Looks like that's happening as of right now. Just watch out for some divergence up here because you are you're above the weekly expected move upside. So that just tells you the options market didn't price this in, and maybe we actually do see some kind of bigger pullback before it wants to head higher. Maybe we see this 15-minute even get closer to that center line and then curl up. That would be a better entry for a trade to the upside than going at it right now. AMD. Now it's seeing a pop higher in the post market. We're going to see how things open up, and you are in positive territories. That's a big thing for AMD, right? AMD has been doing some bad stock market behavior, honestly. It's just been curling down in negative territory. So if we wanted to play this downside, well, what do? We just see when that builds up to the center line, crosses down in negative territory. Now I'm short. Okay, crosses back up, goes up to the center line, crosses down, now I'm short. So it's pretty simple to do it that way, and you just want to find out if this trend is fully going to go, because you can do that to the upside. But as of right now, it looks like this 30-minute might want to curl over. So if that does curl over, we could fill this gap. Maybe from there, we actually do curl up into positive territory, and this is going to be the next big move. But if we actually do see that continue negative, then most of the time when you do actually go fully negative, you do test the previous lows and then you go make a new one. So the only thing that could hold you up in here is this gap right here. So just pay attention to that going forward, but very good likelihood that we're actually going to see AMD drop to lower levels and see some kind of divergence before an actual bounce going forward. So just be cautious with AMD. It's been behaving very negative, so any kind of pop can be met with sellers above it. Meta seeing a solid move higher. Now, there was some news about TikTok being banned, so I assume Meta, Google, things like that will see some positivity over the next couple of days. But let's see if this is able to hold. Let's pay attention to our weekly expected moves for Meta, because this could make some kind of big move up. And where would we want some selling to come in to give us some structure? Right here. Right in this level of 508 would be a great level to just explode up to and then get us deep or higher up into this positive territory on the MACD here, and then see that scoot back down to the center line and go up again. What this would do is get a reaction up to something like 510, then we react down like this, and guess what? We have ourselves a little head and shoulders on the way up. And when people see this flush, maybe it's a decent sized flush, that way people are scared out of it, people go bearish, and then it is some kind of bear trap at that point. So what I'm kind of thinking here is this is going to be seen as a bull trap, this might be seen as a bear trap, and then we'll see that explode higher. So we'll see if that's able to happen from here. Meta seeing some positivity, we have to pay a little bit of attention to that. But if that positivity in the post market actually does fade, what can we pay attention to the downside? Well, if this curls over on this MACD, we can pay attention to the gap fill first, and then we could say if this is rolling going fully negative, hey, yeah, we could test this low, we could go make a new one. So if this started to show up before earnings, I actually would be a little bit happy with that. It would be some kind of signal saying Meta wants to head higher. But remember, earnings is a 50-50 flip. What if Meta shows good numbers and announces something bad, like inflation is putting a damper on their advertising revenue or something like that, right? That could be something to really pay attention to going forward. I would just encourage you to trade a different stock at this point, not really try to catch any kind of move in earnings, because that is pretty much betting red or black. So really paying attention to the signals here before earnings is okay. We could see that upward move, but just don't expect that positivity or negativity to continue, and behave correctly with the technicals around earnings. Microsoft, this is a great flag. This is sturdy holding of price here. We could see that upward move very early on. I'm just stating how the 30-minute looks like it wants to digest. So what if we just come fill all these gaps and then see that upward move? Well, we'd be creating some kind of cup in here. What if we get a deep little handle to grab some buyers and then that ends up going up? This would be a bullish scenario. If we continue to be bullish, just be cautious. The Qs and the SPY getting even further outside their weekly range. It is a good point to take profit when you see that happen. And I just wanted to point that out, because most of the time when we hit those ranges, we see some kind of pullback, if not some kind of drop. So just be very careful with that. And as we switch over to Google, this one looks a lot different. Now, this one does look a lot different. We're coming up into a point where this would be a great place to solidify a cup. What if we get a deep little handle in here to actually get us to go higher? Google will be behaving a little bit more positive with that news about TikTok, so we'll pay attention to that going forward. But the main thing I'm paying attention to on Google, first of all, I'm paying attention to those weekly expected moves, right? But the other thing I'm paying attention to, what if we create some kind of divergence and get some kind of double top up here? So you do have that divergence right next to negative territory. Not saying this can't just keep going. It definitely can. But if we can confirm a divergence here, roll over into negative territory, and earnings is actually bad, we will see Google really start to suffer. So just be very cautious around these stocks if you're trying to trade around earnings, and make sure to have some stops in place. VIX, we wanted to talk about, this is really dropping off. What's happening? Well, now we can see a big bull run, and that's why we want to be cautious as the SPY and the Qs are going outside their weekly. You can see something crazy happen. And this is about to curl down on the MACD on the daily scale for the volatility. We told you guys about this happening when we saw all those divergences up in this area. Okay, that dropped off. This is exactly what we expected. Now, what do we expect? If we're going to be right about this, we're going to get some kind of test of the 200. Maybe that produces volatility, but does that volatility really get us to skyrocket up, right? Does that really cause some selling in the market? Or is that just going to be some kind of bounce to then break us down again? Is that going to be a bounce and maybe we retest this broken trend line and then we start to head up from there? Now, the other option, if we see some bullishness for quite some time, we really see that V shape, is we're going to come fill this gap. So the two areas I would pay attention to on the VIX is going to be this reading of pretty much 14.88 and then the reading of 13 down here. I think this gap down here could be important, and we could see this come down, maybe even go to 13 or 12.12, and then we just see volatility rip. In the shorter time frames, you're not necessarily seeing anything that says this has to base out and curl back up. Nothing is telling you that as of right now. If anything, you might have like a 15, 30-minute divergence you can pay attention to, but I just want you to notice it's not on the RSI down here. The RSI just going deeper and deeper into that oversold. So we like to pay attention to the VIX, but I would highly encourage you, if you're doing technicals on the VIX, that make sure it lines up with the SPY. So one thing we could read into here is just say, hey, the VIX might need some kind of pop because the SPY needs some at least digestion at this point, some kind of consolidation, as it is hitting that weekly expected move very early on in the week. Maybe we do get a spike in volatility here with this slight divergence on the MACD, but it's not on the RSI at the same time. So we would say if that spike does come over the next couple days, that spike might fade. And we're going to pay attention to the signals in here and the SPY at the same time to give you that info every single night. So thank you so much for liking and subscribing. So the main takeaway here is we are seeing that positivity come in. We're seeing the bounce, which is something that we actually talked about. So thank you if you are subscribed and you found this information helpful. Really do appreciate you guys being subscribed, taking the Patreon, taking the course. You guys are fantastic. But the thing is, the real main takeaway here is volatility can come in at any point here. Sellers can take over at any point. So if we are going to see that V-shaped recovery, great. And now we can just swing trade this thing on the way up. But if we are going to see any kind of spike in volatility, we really have to pay attention because we have some signals that could produce, even we didn't really show it, but the 50 is about to cross the 200, which is a massive crash signal right as we're seeing some kind of bounce in the market and people might start to get overly bullish again. So be careful for any downside. I just highly encourage you, we're trading based off the signals, but just have those stops in place just in case something bad happens, just in case something geopolitical happens, just in case something breaks in the system. It is a time where volatility can scale up very quickly at any point. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you found the info helpful. Thank you for liking, subscribing, being part of the Patreon, taking the course. You guys are fantastic. I will see you live tomorrow morning, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the reaction to tomorrow as we are hitting those upside weekly expected moves. Have a great night, guys. All the luck in the world trading tomorrow. Peace.